friends. If you're new here, my name is Avery. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a digital creator, and today, your scary storyteller. Today, I'm going to be telling you some scary stories to get into the Halloween vibe, and I also asked all of you to submit your scary stories so they could be featured. So, let's get into it. The first stories that I'm going to be telling you are my personal scary stories and encounters. One of the first scary stories that I really wanted to tell was the scary story of growing up in a haunted house. If you all don't know, I am a tarot reader and intuitive medium, so this is kind of like the background information of why I experienced so many paranormal things growing up. When I was younger, I grew up in a haunted house. It was an old house. It had this creepy stairwell going into the garage. And from what I discovered, there was a family of ghosts living there. And we knew this because we've seen them. So one day, my mom was doing laundry downstairs where that creepy stairwell was, and she saw a little girl pop her head out of the corner of the doorway. And my mom thought it was me, and she was screaming, and she was like,
"Avery, stop doing that. You're scaring me."
Obviously I was upstairs, so I run downstairs and I was like, what are you talking about? That wasn't me. What's going on? And you know, my mom didn't want to scare me at the time, so she was like, nothing, let's just go upstairs. And then a couple weeks pass and my mom sees me playing with someone, and she asks, who are you playing with? And I'm like, oh, I'm playing with the little girl in the pink dress. Do you know her? And my mom is staring at me with a blank face. And she looks terrified because she saw that same little girl when she was doing laundry downstairs. And my mom said that I would always play with this little girl. I called her like my imaginary friend. I referred to her as Jonah. Me and Jonah were best buddies, I guess. So there are many scary stories about that house. Another scary story about that house, I'm sorry, Kai is washing himself and it is distracting me. The next scary story pertaining to that house has to do with the man that lives in this house. One day, me and my family went over to our neighbor's house to have a little party and a barbecue. So nobody was in our house. My aunt was also invited to this barbecue. So she arrives at my house, parks her car in our driveway, and she's getting ready to walk over to the neighbor's house, and she double takes and she looks in the window of our house and she calls my mom and she's panicking and she's like, there's somebody in your house, there's a man standing in your window. We call our neighbors and we walk over to the house and there's nobody in there, nothing. A search, nothing happened. That same night, I went out into the living room to grab some water and I double took and I saw somebody standing at the window and it was the man. And of course I was terrified. I ran into my room and I tell my mom and she was like, yep, I knew it. This next story is about a ghost that is not so friendly. My dad moved into this new apartment, and this is the thing that was weird because they were new apartments. Every single time I went to my dad's house, I was terrified because there was a little ghost girl living in my closet with red eyes. I would go to sleep, I shared a room with my sister, and I feel bad now that I'm thinking about it because growing up I was definitely the person that was like,
Mom, Dad, there's a little girl standing in the corner.
They're like,
please stop. Please be quiet. Please do not say that ever again.
I was just like that creepy little girl. And I would definitely scare my sister, and I felt so bad because I would be like,
hey, the girl is in the closet again.
And she was like,
shut up. Go to sleep. Please, I'm begging you.
And every night when I went to sleep, that little ghost girl in the closet would come out and she would stand at the foot of my bed and I would get so scared and we would just be staring at each other every night. And this went on for months. It went on for months. And I would be screaming, waking up crying. And then this one night I got so sick and tired of her shenanigans. I was brave and she walks out of the closet and I sit up while I'm in bed and I'm like, leave me alone. You're annoying me. You're scaring me. And then she climbs on top of the bed and she sits on me, like where my feet area is, and I like felt so much pressure on my body, like my entire body, even though it was on my feet. And I start screaming. My dad comes in and we go to sleep and everything. He sleeps next to me because I'm freaked out, and I wake up and there's scratches on me. After that happened, that was kind of like this huge turning point in my life. I was like, okay, I believe in the paranormal. This is like too real. And then I don't go to my dad's for like a week because I'm so scared. I tell him everything and he's like,
okay.
I come back the next week and my dad sits me down and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, we're going to be moving. And I'm like, why? And he was like, because the little girl visited me last night and he said that the little girl was standing at the foot of his bed doing the same weird shit. So he was like, we're moving. That was pretty much it. Very scary. Now I am going to read all of your scary story submissions. Thank you so much again for everybody that submitted a scary story. I truly appreciate it and I'm so excited to hear all of your spooky stories. First spooky story from all of you. This was submitted by Bagel and it is called The Abandoned Hospital of Yorktown, Texas. What once started as a hospital in the 1950s during the Korean War era later turned into a drug rehab facility in 1986 and 1992, where it has been decommissioned to nearly 30 years, just sitting there rotting away in the small town of Yorktown, Texas. It leans slightly to the left, it's falling apart, and the worst part of it all, it's haunted. When I visited my family in South Texas, we stopped by Yorktown to take a tour of the abandoned hospital. We went in with just our phones and flashlights around 7 to 8 p.m. and it was very eerie. Dripping water could be heard. Every step we took, you could hear the building crumble from inside. There was a ball left on the ground covered in dust, cobwebs, you name it. We kicked it and rolled it away and it never came back. After a while, we separated and explored this small town hospital. I found a padded room just rotting away. All the wiring in the place was stripped or hanging from the ceiling. Eventually, we heard what sounded like a laugh in the distance and we started running towards the door. My oldest cousin and I stayed and decided to mess with the spirits and ghosts because we're stupid. He shouted, ghosts aren't real. And in the middle of us laughing, he felt something swipe at him. When I looked over, I see 3 faint scratch marks on his shoulder, cut through his shirt, and he was starting to bleed. We ran out of the building as fast as we could, loaded up the car, and never spoke about it to anyone until now. It has been 6 to 7 years, and to this day, we will never go back until that building falls back into the earth where it belongs. I got chills. That was some great storytelling, Bagel. That was honestly very scary. I got goosebumps. The next story from all of you was submitted by Anonymous, and the title of this story is called A Camping Trip Gone Wrong. Everything was normal and fun. We set up our tents, had some dinner, told some scary stories, and then we all went to bed. I shared a bed and tent with my sister. It was around 2:21 a.m. and we heard a groaning noise outside. I tried to ignore it. It was probably just an animal, but then it got louder. I turned to my sister and she looks terrified. She's shaking her head, telling me not to make a sound. I turn slowly to my side and I see a tall, lanky shadow outside of our tent. I was too scared to move. I couldn't even scream. I was frozen and so was my sister. The thing placed its hand on the tent and slid it, and it made that tent fabric scratching noise. My parents were waking up and we heard them unzipping their tent right next to ours, and I finally was able to yell. I said, "No, don't come out. There's something out here." My parents' lantern shined through the tent and the figure vanished. My parents said we woke up because we heard something. Are you okay? Me and my sister couldn't speak. We all left that night, and I've never told anyone the story because of all the fear I had that day. I've never been camping since. I don't think I'm gonna go camping since either. My gosh, that is so scary. What was it? Oh my gosh, is this based on a true story? Oh, I'm scared. The next story from all of you was submitted by ESPER. This was back in high school during band competition for jazz ensemble around my sophomore year. We went to compete at a different school and it looked really nice. However, when we went to our lunch break, I made the huge mistake to get Chick-fil-A before our performance. I know where this is going. I'm not a fan of Chick-fil-A. When I tried it for the first time, it hurt my stomach so bad. Like, what is in it? I kid you not, when we went upstage, my stomach started to act funky. It was at this moment that I knew I screwed up. I am so sorry for the change of scenery, but my phone died and I have a meeting after this, so I have to finish this video. So bear with me, everybody. As I was saying, the whole time I was holding it in for dear life. After our competition, my band director during our performance noticed that I was making funny faces and he knew what was going on. So once we finished playing, my band director came up to me and said, "Run, run." And I sped straight into the restroom. I couldn't find the restroom nearby until I saw the men's sign and I was like, go! And here's the catch. The sign said restroom in maintenance. So I just went in and did my part until I flushed the toilet and the water started flooding the restroom and I just hit the road and never looked back. By the way, the restroom looked really clean before I got there. Now they're probably wondering, how did the floor get messy? I don't know, but all I know is that there was a newspaper announcing that the school got closed for 2 weeks because the water kept going. That's my horror story there. ESPER. That was a horror story. You know what? I will take it. Poop stories are horror stories, okay? I don't know what I would do in that situation. Thank you for submitting. That is it for this video, and if you've made it to the end, comment down below your favorite scary movie if you have one. Thank you all so much who participated and submitted, anonymous or not. I appreciate it so much. It was so fun hearing your stories. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Please take care of yourselves and I will see you all next time. Bye.